Imagine the most trivial argument turning into a bloodbath. It sounds like fiction, but it's not. We're not speaking of gang rivalries or political conflicts. Instead, we're talking about everyday disputes over a stolen lunch, a disagreement on television appearances, or even a squabble about Christmas gifts. These seemingly petty disagreements have transformed into brutal murders. Like the one case where Bazan Berhe, a disgruntled employee, found out his lunch was stolen from the staff fridge. Instead of just expressing his irritation to his coworker, he brayed to, well, let's save them details for later. Or consider the couple, Shanti Cooper and David Trons, who were renovating their home. But when Cooper, who was funding the renovations, refused to participate in a reality TV show, her denial led to an unimaginable tragedy. And there's more. The tale of two brothers, a conflict over Christmas gifts, going as far as exchange of gunfire. It's almost unthinkable, isn't it? But that's just the tip of the iceberg. We have an array of chilling stories that showcase how inconsequential disagreements can spiral into deadly situations. But the most shocking of them all, stay tuned to find out. What's up, my amazing and curious folks? I'm your host, Cesar, here with the brilliant commentator, Sonia. Are you ready to unravel some mind-boggling mysteries with us today on Curiosity Wonderland?
Hiya, folks. Ready to dive into the intriguing world of curiosities with us?
Fantastic. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon so you never miss an episode of our daily mysteries. Trust us, you don't want to miss what we have in store for you. It's truly shocking to see how trivial disputes can escalate into fatal encounters. For instance, let's talk about the unfortunate incident at a Target store in Bailey's Crossroads, Virginia.
Oh, is that the case where the coworker stole someone's lunch?
Exactly. 25-year-old Bazan Berhe found out that his coworker, Hernan Leyva, had taken his lunch from the staff fridge. Instead of discussing his frustration with Leyva, Berhe took a rather drastic step.
Drastic how?
Well, he purchased a hammer and 2 knives, trained himself, and then waited for Leyva in the employee parking lot.
He didn't just confront him about the stolen lunch.
No, he didn't. He chose a violent path, attacking Leyva and ultimately taking his life.
That's terrifying. What happened to Berhe after the incident?
He was arrested, confessed to the crime, and was sentenced to 100 years in prison. But with 30 years suspended, he'll be serving 70 years of active incarceration. It's a tragic outcome stemming from a minor grievance.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder of how important it is to handle disagreements in a peaceful and constructive manner.
Here's another baffling case. This one involves a couple, Shanti Cooper and David Trons. They met online in 2013, and Trons moved from Minnesota to Orlando, Florida to be with Cooper. In 2015, Trons bought a 4,000 square foot Victorian-style home in Delaney Park, a well-established neighborhood near downtown Orlando.
Sounds idyllic. What went wrong?
Well, despite sharing the house with Cooper and her son, Trons put the house in a trust fund with his mother. Cooper, who operated a financial software business from home, was paying for renovations despite not having any claim over the house. She believed that Trons had inherited a sizable amount from his father.
I see. Any idea why she'd assume so?
It's unclear. But by 2018, the renovation project had flopped, forcing Trons to live in the garage and Cooper to occupy a small studio above it. Trons then contacted a local house renovator, Keith Ory, hoping to feature their house on the reality TV show Zombie House Flipping.
And Cooper was against appearing on the show, right?
Yes, Cooper refused. This upset Trons to the extent that he took her life. Cooper was fatally beaten and strangled by Trons in April 2018. He tried to cover up the crime scene and claimed to have found Cooper dead in the bathtub. But detectives found inconsistencies in Trons' story, leading to his arrest 4 months later.
It's shocking how a disagreement over a reality TV show could turn so deadly.
Yes, it's a tragic example of how minor disputes can escalate out of control. Trons was charged with first-degree murder and eventually sentenced to life in prison. And the tragic tales continue. This one unfolds on Christmas Eve 2023, involving a family in Largo, Florida.
Christmas should be a time of happiness and togetherness, right? What happened?
You're right. But unfortunately, a petty squabble over Christmas gifts escalated dramatically. Abrielle Baldwin, a 23-year-old mother, was out shopping with her two young children, her mother and her two teenage brothers, DeMarcus and Darcus Coley. The brothers started arguing over the number of gifts they were getting. DeMarcus was upset that Darcus was receiving more than him.
And this disagreement led to something more serious?
Yes, it did. After they returned to their grandmother's house, the argument continued. DeMarcus tried to provoke Darcus into a physical fight, and their uncle had to intervene. Abrielle stepped in and tried to calm DeMarcus down, but it backfired.
What do you mean backfired?
Upset by his sister's words, DeMarcus shot Abrielle in the chest, causing her baby, who she was carrying, to fall to the ground.
Oh no, what happened next?
Darcus retaliated by shooting DeMarcus in the stomach. He then fled. Thankfully, the baby was unharmed.
But Abrielle didn't survive?
No, she didn't. She succumbed to her injuries. The tragedy doesn't end there, though. DeMarcus was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, child abuse, and possession of a firearm. Darcus was also arrested and charged with attempted first-degree murder and tampering with evidence, but a trial date is yet to be set.
It's devastating to think how a simple disagreement over Christmas presents spiraled into such a tragic event.
Let's move to another unsettling case, this time centered on education. The victim was a 66-year-old Spanish teacher, Nohema Graber. She taught at Fairfield High School in Fairfield, Iowa. Nohema was reported missing by her family on November 2nd, 2021.
Wait, another teacher? That's disturbing.
Unfortunately, yes. The day after she was reported missing, Nohema's badly beaten body was found. The shocking part is that two of her students, 16-year-olds named Willard Miller and Jeremy Goodale, were arrested for her murder.
The students killed their teacher?
Yes, and the motive was unsettling. Apparently, Miller was unhappy with the grade he received in Nohema's class. He felt that this low grade was affecting his GPA and his chances of participating in a study abroad program.
That's outrageous. A bad grade isn't a justification for such a horrific act.
I completely agree. Instead of taking responsibility for his grades, Miller and Goodale planned and executed Nohema's murder. They ambushed her in a park where she used to take daily walks, and they beat her to death with a baseball bat.
It's so terrifying to think that individuals so young could plan and carry out such a brutal crime.
Indeed, it's a tragic and horrifying case. Miller was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 35 years, while Goodale received a similar sentence with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Both were also ordered to pay $10,000 in restitution to Nohema's family. Let's delve into another shocking incident. We're moving from the classroom in a park to an unusual setting: a bed in a trailer. This happened in a remote area of Texas, near the border with Oklahoma. It was about 3 in the afternoon on May 17, 2016, when a heart-wrenching 911 call came in about a 3-year-old boy, Dominic Trawan Castro, who had been shot in the head.
That's terrible. Was it another case of a gun misfire?
Initially, that's what the witnesses said. They claimed that Dominic had been jumping on the bed, which led to a gun on the bed accidentally discharging. But later, they changed their story. They said that Dominic's stepfather, an 18-year-old named George Cody Wayman, had actually threatened Dominic with the gun and told him he would shoot him if he didn't stop jumping on the bed.
That's horrifying. A child's joy and playfulness met with such brutal violence.
It is indeed. Dominic was airlifted to a healthcare facility, but he succumbed to his injuries the next morning. Wayman was charged with capital murder of a person under 10 years of age. He agreed to a plea deal and is serving a life sentence now.
There's something so profoundly wrong about these stories. The senseless violence, the loss of innocent lives.
Yes, it's a chilling reminder of the dark side of humanity. But I think it's also important to have these conversations, to discuss these issues openly. We can't turn a blind eye to the violence and injustice around us. Isn't that right, listeners? Your thoughts and your voice matter. Let's not forget to stand up against violence in all its forms. You can share your thoughts with us, and remember, Every small step towards change counts. Don't you agree? We're moving on to another case, this time centered around an argument at work. 25-year-old Daniel Leroy Brodemarkle and his supervisor, 27-year-old Nathaniel Marcial Ibarra, worked together at a dock installation company in Pontiac, Michigan. On June 27, 2022, they got into a dispute over Brodemarkle being late for work.
I'm sure many of us have been late to work, but it rarely leads to violent confrontations.
Indeed, this situation escalated drastically. Their argument turned physical, and the owner of the company asked both men to leave for the day. Brodemarkle used a company vehicle to go home.
Did the situation calm down after that?
Unfortunately, no. Later that day, the owner sent Ibarra and other co-workers to retrieve the truck from Brodemarkle's home. A confrontation ensued again, and this time Ibarra shot Brodemarkle multiple times before fleeing the scene.
Could you give us an example of how such a situation could have been managed better?
Well, yes. For instance, if the company had proper protocols in place to handle employee disputes, things might not have spiraled out of control. This could include mediation, conflict resolution training, or even temporary reassignment of duties to keep the conflicting parties apart. Also, encouraging open communication between all involved parties could have helped in addressing the issue without resorting to violence.
It's sad that an issue like tardiness led to such a tragic outcome.
Agreed. Brodemarkle was found unresponsive and taken to a local hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. Ibarra was arrested within an hour of the shooting at his home. He was charged with second-degree murder and possession of a firearm in the commission of a felony. Now let's shift gears to another story, this time from Washington, D.C. We're looking at an elderly couple, 85-year-old Stephen Schwartz, who had suffered a stroke, and his 81-year-old wife, Sharon Schwartz. On the morning of December 10, 2023, Sharon made pancakes for Stephen in an attempt to help him regain his weight.
Sounds like a caring gesture, doesn't it?
Yes, a seemingly simple act of love. But this story takes a tragic turn. Stephen agreed to try eating a pancake, but when he couldn't, Sharon grew frustrated and threw the plate against a wall. In response, Stephen grabbed a carving knife. His claim was that his intention was to harm himself, but instead, he stabbed Sharon in the back.
Just another normal day turned into a nightmare.
Indeed. When their neighbors heard the disturbance, they contacted Sharon's sons, prompting them to check on the elderly couple. Upon arriving, one of the sons found his mother conscious but struggling to breathe. Stephen admitted to stabbing Sharon and himself. After calling 911 and disarming Stephen, the son saw his stepfather stab himself again in the abdomen when the police arrived. Both were taken to a local hospital, but sadly, Sharon was pronounced dead due to stab wounds that had punctured her heart and lung. Stephen, regretting his actions, was charged with second-degree murder while armed.
Another chilling story.
Yes, it's heartbreaking to think that a moment of frustration led to such a tragic outcome. We're reminded once again how life can change in the blink of an eye. Now, on to the last story for this episode. We're moving to Little Haiti, a neighborhood in Miami, Florida. It was May 25, 2014, when a petty argument over clothes escalated into a fight between two brothers, 14-year-old Stephen Otis and 16-year-old Stanley Blanc. Stanley wanted to wear Stephen's clothes, but Stephen didn't want him to. The argument flared up again, and it ended with Stephen shooting Stanley and then himself, a tragic murder-suicide.
Such young lives lost over something that seems so trivial to us.
Yes, it's a sobering reminder of the impact of violent impulses, even those stemming from seemingly small disagreements. It's been a journey today as we explored how seemingly trivial disagreements can tragically escalate into murder cases. From an argument over a coworker's stolen lunch, to a dispute over dog droppings in a neighborhood, to a simple disagreement over pancakes. We've also seen how disputes over reality TV show appearances, Christmas gifts allocation, elevator etiquette, tardiness at work, and even borrowing clothes have led to sorrowful outcomes. It's a sobering reminder that conflicts, no matter how petty they seem, can have serious, life-altering consequences if not addressed with care, patience, and understanding.
Yes, the importance of peaceful conflict resolution and seeking help when needed cannot be overstated. These stories are a stark reminder of that. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into disputes that went tragically wrong. If you found this episode thought-provoking, do us a favor and, as we like to say, blast that like button. And don't forget to leave a comment and share this episode with your friends.
Yes, we appreciate your support. It's been a pleasure sharing these stories with you, as heartbreaking as they are. We hope they serve as a reminder to approach disagreements with a level head, to practice empathy, and to seek help when tensions mount.
Absolutely. Remember, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Life is precious, and it's too short to be wasted on disputes that can be resolved amicably. Remember to take care of each other out there.
Well said. On that note, take care, everyone. We'll catch you in the next episode. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye, everyone. Stay safe.
This intriguing exploration of 10 trivial disputes that led to tragic murder cases was penned by Julie Henthorne and published on the Listverse site on March 14, 2024. For those who want to delve deeper into this subject, find the full URL in our episode description. As always, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you in our next episode. Now I'm off.